Oh man.
Excellent. So welcome to Stormwatch by GreyNoise Intelligence. Each week we drop the latest info on what's happening at GreyNoise, take a look at a roundup of important and timely cybersecurity topics, and toss out some expert opinions and the occasional, maybe even more than occasional, hot take today and conspiracy theory.
And conspiracy theory, don't forget that.
I said at the end, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm Bob Brutus, and with me are my co-host Emily, who's our official perma co-host. Emily, how's it going today?
Pretty good. I couldn't find my unmute button, so I hope that's not like foreshadowing for what's to come, but otherwise pretty good.
So it's more like appropriate for the last 2 weeks.
It is really. It is really. So I have this lovely fall scene. This is literally 3 minutes from my house, which is why I have it there. It took a lovely night.
Oh, that's beautiful.
How is fall treating you in Georgia?
You know, it actually is starting to feel like fall, which is kind of nice. Like we're in the 50s in the morning Fahrenheit, which I'm feeling. I'm here for it. I like it.
Because in a couple weeks I will be checking in on those marathon plans that you said you were going to do in the fall. So
oh gosh, I have something coming up maybe in the next few weeks. So we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah.
Like full marathon, like the 26 miles or 24 miles, whatever.
A little more than that, but yeah.
Holy, thank you.
I'm a glutton.
Good for you. Good for you.
Some people actually do move and do work. Glenn.
Jake's a big runner too. I know I'm jumping ahead to our guest, but Jake's a big runner.
Well, we will get to Jake in a moment. So Glenn, we have Glenn joining us. Glenn, you're joining us remotely. Is that correct? Like more remotely than usual.
I am more remotely than usual. Yes, there's a pod of us that decided to get together because we like working together so much. So we are in Savannah, Georgia, just kind of hanging out and co-working and doing our thing. But I'm a little distracted. I know this is also on pod format, so I will describe this background that I have.
Oh wait, that background is showing just how badly your team is doing right now, isn't it?
No, just the opposite. It shows my baseball team, the Texas Rangers, have advanced through all 4 levels of the playoffs and will be playing in the World Series on Friday night. So, and the best part of my team winning is that the fact that to get there we beat the cheating Astros, and that's all I will say about that.
Could there be more advertisements on that poster?
I know. I could not find a clean one. Like there's Adobe, there's that.
Yeah, like for everyone out there, like every single team has like some kind of brand below them, and the team itself is a brand. Which I don't know. I got nothing.
I know. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, but it's not cool. The intro is going to take the entire show, so we're going to keep going. Remy, our very own Remy. Everyone knows Remy. Remy, how goes it today?
Goes pretty well. It's Tuesday, right? Yeah. We're making it through the week. We got a lot.
Right. I mean, maybe after today, maybe not. And you will notice that Remy and I have like for people that are not listening, Remy and I are donning a new thing that the entire GreyNoise Labs and Extended Labs team has, which is a set of actual bona fide, like real, honest to goodness, proper lab coats with the GreyNoise Labs logo on it. Very coveted, and they're very comfortable too. And it is a little chilly up here, so it's kind of nice having to do that. And finally, though, we welcome Jake Baines from VulnCheck to the podcast. Jake, unfortunately, maybe knows all of us from previous things, so he graciously came on, even though he does know that, and he actually had to work with Glenn at one time. So why he came on for this, I have no idea. But Jake, welcome to the Stormwatch.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm surprised you guys are willing to put up with me for an entire podcast. So,
it's nothing. And just to also give you a chance to showcase some things. And Emily, if you have some things that you want to bring with Censys, please let us know. You've just had some major changes at VulnCheck. Is that correct? You've had like a lot of like major growth and stuff going on. Can you talk a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. We actually have brought on a new leadership team. So I got promoted to CTO for some reason, and we brought on a COO and a VP of engineering. We're building out a new leadership team, and we have big plans. So a lot of changes.
Is that Chief Tweeting Officer? Is that what that is? CTO, Chief Tweeting Officer?
Well, we don't tweet anymore, unfortunately, Bob. So
that's actually, and they have a great presence on Mastodon, so y'all should follow them too. We're really bad about putting those links up. As usual, making all of this possible, and literally the only reason why it goes as smoothly as it does is our incredible Overwatch. Ashley, thanks for everything you do, Ashley. Appreciate the cool music this morning. It's a great way to set everything up.
The music was a whole vibe, actually.
It was actually. I can't wait till I wasn't gonna like foreshadow it too much, but it is Halloween next Tuesday, so it's gonna be a pretty epic episode. Just
Everyone's wearing costumes, right? Because I am.
I'm not telling you
week.
what mine are, but I am definitely wearing a costume.
You're just gonna put on a stethoscope, aren't you? And then just wear that lab coat again.
No, but it'll be a really it's going to be a weird Stormwatch. Just everybody, that's right now. I'm just letting you know that.
More weird than normal?
A multimeter
Yeah.
I'm just see.
Interesting. I might be sick next Tuesday.
So we're going to get started pimping ourselves as we usually do. So we have a domain now. So if you go to show.GreyNoise-storm.watch, or because I could not actually get
Is that any better?
Watch. It's it's at least not like the domain of like libsyn or whatever. Like
Bob's gonna add a domain every week.
Every week, yeah. It's also pod.greynoise-storm.watch. You could just go to like our like greynoise.io and you can find it there. We'll probably put a nice page up on our website too for it. So definitely like, subscribe. We actually have, I know everyone isn't as vain as I might be. So I've actually gone on Apple Podcasts. We have actual 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts already, which for no one knows who we are or what we do. So I'm kind of happy about that. I'm one of them, so maybe that doesn't count, but but the other 4 probably count.
It's probably me, you, and Kimber.
I was going to say, how many of us are there here? Because
that's probably what it is. Yeah. Anyway, never mind. Look the other way. All right, so we're going to do something really unusual. Really, really, really unusual. So I need everyone to brace, all the listeners to brace, all the viewers to brace. I'm excited because there was, I think there's some dissent about this. Amazing bits of positive news come at the tail end of last week, being shunted to the beginning of this week. 2 ransomware gangs are no longer. Now, I know the ransomware gangs just kind of resurface or reimagine or re-get put together. However, getting them down for just even a little bit of time, I think is amazing. I think is great. First one was actually done by my people, like in Ukraine. They actually took them down pretty hard. This would be the Ukrainian Cyber Alliance, and Trigona is gone. I have no idea how to pronounce that, so if I said it wrong, I don't really care. So we got links for all these as well. And the really cool thing about this is, like, I just love the fact that they're just taking no prisoners with this thing. They just took, and they and if you go to the link and read the thing, it's just great. Like, they humiliate this particular attacker gang. So I'm thrilled with that one. I think the next one is there's some dissent. So I'm going to just state my exuberance that the RagnarLocker group is no longer, and this is also great. Like, they're pretty nasty. They've done a bunch of things, but I'm understanding that I should not be as happy about this as I am. Is that correct? I think, Jake, you were suggesting that maybe I should not be as
yeah. I'll be the Debbie Downer. If you read the article closely, you'll see that this took 2 years of investigation to actually happen. In the lifetime of a normal ransomware group, that's like a very, very, very long time. So, Ragnar did a lot of bad stuff in that time. But it's great they're gone, but you need to shorten that cycle down to like 3 months or something. Sorry to be a downer, Bob.
Well, I am not letting that destroy my exuberance. Was anyone else actually a little happy that we had good news in cyber for a change with this?
I mean, I love good news, but I also kind of feel like this is just sort of the hamster wheel of, there's this one, but then there's going to be the next one and the next one.
The whack-a-mole of it all.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. But also
I really wasn't counting on Emily adding to the pain and adding.
I know. I'm sorry. I feel bad. Okay. I want to be more excited, but I also just kind of I'm curious how much of a dent this will actually make, and how long it takes for them to sort of reassemble in some other manner.
We're just tired, Bob. We're tired.
Did they just take down the service and infrastructure, or did they actually get the people?
They rolled up some people.
Yeah, they actually got one of the people too. Yeah. So,
all right.
So and with that, it isn't all good news because as folks may or may not know who are listening, you probably do because you're in cyber. All 4 of you listen, but the Bitcoin's going back up. I'm actually surprised that it's going up as high as it is. I really shouldn't be with all the instability on the planet. But whenever Bitcoin goes up, a good chunk of the other things just go up as well too. That's just kind of how it works. It's almost like an index for the rest of them. And when Bitcoin goes up, ransomware attacks go up because whatever crypto that they're getting paid in also goes up, and they just want to get more money. So you might want to just watch over the next few weeks as other gangs just take up the reins, because as we're going to see, there is no shortage of vulnerabilities to take advantage of to gain initial access.
I feel like I'm going to say. Well, my name's Glenn. Nice to meet you.
I'm sorry, Glenn. I was actually hoping Remy was talking, not you.
Oh yeah. Well, sorry about your luck. I feel like this is a statement that I'll regret saying later, but insinuating that ransomware is going to go up feels like, how could it? I mean, that it might go, like, how can it go up? Like, it just seems like it's so prevalent. It's just, I don't know. I don't see how it could get worse.
If folks remember from the beginning of this year, a number of, I think, insane cyber vendors were saying that like last year was not a bad year for ransomware at all. And
right? Yeah.
Probably, so you might remember those morons saying those things, and I do think that you will see as there's some pressure being put on those. Like there's if folks, I didn't put this up on the show notes or anything, so but we might be able to add it later. Like CISA just did a bunch more reinvigoration of the Stop Ransomware campaign, and as more pressure is put on these groups to for folks to have defenses and have detections and actually stop these things from happening or not pay, the groups just accelerate what they do. So yeah, we could actually see some type of acceleration in this type of thing. But you're right. Like it may just be the steady state moving forward, and we'll see these.
It's just going to get more expensive, is what I think, to pay the ransom. Which, a debate for maybe a future thing is like,
or not.
How can it be legal to pay this ransom? But anyway.
So we are going to get into the meat of the show right away. And we're going to start with a little segment that we were calling How It Started. This is with the Netscaler ADC and Netscaler Gateway Security Bulletin TV. This came out a little while back in October. And that's how it started, with just an innocent,
okay, all right. Netscaler Vuln, that happens often. Got it.
And then how's it going? And how's it going is they have reports of incidents consistent with session hijacking, and have received credible reports of targeted attacks exploiting this vulnerability. It's actually in CISA we have got a couple links to drop if we didn't already. And like, this is just annoying. Like I am sick to death of Citrix Netscalers not being safe, and this is just crazy. Remy, can you give us a little bit of background on this particular vulnerability, and vent as much as you need to about our ability to actually reverse this thing and patch diff this thing, etc.?
Sure. I have in a previous life personally worked with Citrix Netscaler ADCs. I did really enjoy the API. Looking inside it is quite a pain. But what I can speak to about this specific vulnerability is, in terms of logging, it's a little bit tricky to determine whether or not you've actually been exploited. I guess a log independent, if you have some sort of monitoring, a GET request exceeding 20K bytes should be a pretty big red flag that you may have seen this on your perimeter, and it requires additional investigation. And that's independent of the fact that those 20K bytes may result in a crash on the system, and you may not have the logs to review. So if you have any sort of external monitoring, something as simple as NetFlow, a GET request exceeding 20K bytes to the management interface of a Citrix Netscaler ADC should be a pretty big red flag. Operationally, this exploit allows leaking memory, and in this case, the authenticated session or initialized memory that is used for, I believe, the temp buffer can be leaked, and within that, you may be able to hijack a session. Keyword being may. Memory is not always structured exactly as an attacker needs it, so exploitation in the wild may be a little bit noisy. So if you're missing that, that may not be great. So yeah, outside of all logging of the device itself, probably look for GET requests, which should never be more than, I don't know, maybe 1,000 bytes. If you have a lot of headers, that 20K is a huge red flag. Look for that. And we are seeing exploitation in the wild. We're seeing some pretty widespread scanning from a few number of IPs, and I think Bob will probably get to that here in a minute.
Does it require any specific because sometimes these things are like you have to have all the stars aligned in a row for these things to actually work. The Netscalers or ADCs have to be actually running a particular configuration or authentication scheme or whatever, or is it just anything that you might have out there with it?
They do. There's a number of constraints. Configuration of the AAA server. I don't know. That's what we called it internally at a previous job. I believe VPN configuration, and there is an additional one. Long story short, yes, there are constraints. It's also the primary reasons why people would buy these devices to use those exact features. So, yeah.
I'm gonna be really mean to Emily again because I didn't prep this question, and if it does take time, I can also stall.
Why do you keep doing this to her?
I don't. Well, I don't know. Because maybe the thought just came to me, and we didn't have a lot of prep time today. How many Netscalers are out there?
I knew this was coming, and I looked this morning.
Look at this.
I don't have the tab pulled up right now, but there were around, I want to say it was around 3,000.
Okay.
So let me find. Let me pull it back up.
I mean, they have to be on. Like, actually, this I actually need to. So this is actually just them. This isn't the admin interface they're hitting. Like, they're actually hitting just the normal, like the user interface for. Okay, so that's terrible. Like, actually, wait. Why are there only? That's a different thing. So why are there only like a few thousand Citrix Netscalers on the, like, is Citrix actually finally dying? Are people putting it behind VPNs? Like, is that actually happening?
I might be misremembering. That could also be part of what's happening here.
I mean, I might be happy again if that's a thing.
While Emily is doing some live searching, I have a couple of thoughts about this whole phone, if I may.
Yeah, go for
it. So a few things. This is going to be also one of my new bits, I think, is disclosures, vuln like notices that include the words like cloud services or managed where no action is needed. Great. We just went down this with Confluence. Okay, no action is needed, but like, was it vulnerable? Like, tell me that. Like, great that I don't have to do anything now, but did you do something for me? And should I look back? So the disclosure on this one said that, like, do not need to take any action if you are managed, blah, blah, blah. The other thing is, in the disclosure, it mentions some end-of-life products. So also a method for, Citrix. I think they patched it, but like still bringing up the fact of like people running or organizations running end-of-life products. Like, please stop doing that. And the third thing is, we should probably, as an industry, reevaluate what the word patch means, because like on this one, the patch wasn't enough. It required some extra steps. So like, basically organizations patched and still had, they were still, had some hacks or whatever. So like, we really need to determine a different word for something that's like, install this updated software and make this config change, versus a patch where people think they just go on with their life.
I mean, I'm actually not snarking back. Can we just say patch and mitigation? Instead of patch or mitigation, patch and mitigation? Is that fair?
I guess I don't actually care what it's called if we just rally around it. To me, mitigation implies a little bit more temporary.
Okay.
So like, I would say like patch and config update or something. I don't know, something more catchy. But it is organizations are so busy. Like, we talk about this all the time. And they're like, okay, I have Citrix, I need to install this patch. I install the patch, I mark it as done, I move on to the next thing. Like, they don't have the time to read the EULA of every patch or whatever that says, also be sure to check this box after you're done. So it's just frustrating for the defenders.
So Emily,
back to you, Emily.
Yeah. All right.
Did we actually talk enough for that? Okay.
You definitely did. I was kind of considering how I wanted to look for this. So yeah, running the Netscaler gateway software, we see 6,500 of these.
Okay.
But the hardware component, I don't know a ton about Citrix Netscaler, so like this might sound very ignorant and ill like this might not make sense, but then the hardware itself, we see 3,700.
Okay.
Emily, this is the internet. You don't have to be informed to say things.
I mean, I realize that, you know, and I'm on a podcast and I have a podcast mic, and I'm like, I could just like kind of go out here. It's Wild West. Like no one's going to know, but also, yeah. So,
or just launch a conspiracy theory on it. That's fine too.
I mean, there we go. That's what I should have done.
And I will note that like I have been corrected on Mastodon for some things that we've said over the past few episodes too. So people do notice, and they will.
That's fine.
That's good though. I like that.
It was done very nicely. It was actually a really I really appreciated it. But I'm just letting you know, like, if you're wrong, people will tell you the right answer, and that's cool because like then you know the answer without having to do the work. It's pretty neat.
I'm just happy when I'm not the one that has to correct your mistakes, bub.
Well, because I
just open sourcing the corrections.
Crowdsourcing.
I'm going to open up the floor as I also put up the screen. Dropped it this morning. Another great blog by Asset Note about this particular one of the two CVE 2023-4966. I'm opening the floor up to other thoughts on this before I just show our stuff and we move to the next thing. Anyone wants to have any comments on the particular Citrix thing at all?
I'll just pop in and say I did look at their exploit, and I don't know how much work Remy had to do to actually RE this thing, but the exploit's dead simple. It's like 20 lines of Python, so crazy easy to use. So not a good situation in Citrix world as usual.
Yeah, this is carnage. Again, this is going to be carnage. Yeah.
Hey, Jake, I think before the show you mentioned also, or maybe that was for a different topic, but just fake exploits out on Git. Was that for this one that you were talking about?
No, but I can mention it real quickly.
Okay.
One of the things, we do at VulnCheck is we do read like all the exploits on GitHub and stuff. So like I'm sure we'll see fake ones for this as well. That just like people trying to get, Bitcoin donations or just like normal Satoshi scams or whatever. We're seeing it a lot for the Cisco stuff, which we'll talk about later. But, basically half of the stuff on GitHub is useless. So it's always nice when someone like Asset Note puts out something real. And so, yeah, that's it.
I also learned this morning that people actually pay for GitHub stars. So like everything is just rotten and broken and it's terrible. I hate everything. And the thing I really appreciated from the blog is like good old SN printf, which is supposed to be safe, is not actually safe if you overread. So yeah, it was kind of neat. We are seeing exploitation. I posted on Mastodon about this, so you can hit up the link that we have there to basically block these morons from hitting your networks if you want to while you have been buying time to patch and mitigate. I have to be careful about that because then it's correct. So yeah, just watch for that. Props to Remy for getting the tag out really quickly on this one. Really appreciate that, Remy. And I am now literally I'm gonna leave the diagram that I have up. It is in the show notes. It is a beautiful diagram. Remy made an awesome diagram. It's in our blog post. But like I also posted this on Mastodon. But I got to see like Remy and Jake and Will like just like nerd out on the Cisco stuff. And it was a joy. Like they really, you do need to start the Great British Hacking Show, even though none of you are British. And I am now going to turn it over to both of them. I'm actually going to take the screen away. So for folks that are watching, I want you to be able to see those guys talk because they do a great job. And Remy and Jake, go at it. Like just hammer on this as much as you want.
Yeah, Remy, do you mind if I just start off with like how we actually got involved?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So it was Monday, right? That Talos and Cisco came out and said there's this vulnerability in iOS at XE, and a lot of people in the industry are familiar with these. They're huge rack-mounted routers, or they're a very big deal. Any vulnerability in them, so that immediately caught our attention. And the disclosure was weird because no one ever gives like information on how to find if your systems are implanted. So that it was immediately like, okay, this is weird. We didn't have a device, and so we had nothing to test. So we just wrote a quick scanner and started scanning the internet for a customer. And we actually had written the fingerprint wrong initially, so we were like seeing nothing. And then like, oh, we totally messed this up. Pointed at the internet again, and just like implants everywhere, all over the internet. And we're like, okay, this very bad. Why didn't Cisco say how bad this was? And so that's really where our involvement started. And we saw how obviously bad it was. We thought everyone should know, so we wrote a quick little blog, and I think we started talking to Remy that very morning about recreating some of the issues.
Yeah, I think shortly after y'all released that scanner and started putting up some numbers, I think initially there was like a chat where you were like, oh, like it's still going, but we're past 3,000. That like tipped off something. My brain was like, oh no, that's not good. That's not good. That number's not going to go down. That's just going to keep climbing. Yeah, so from that point onward, it kind of became, looking back historically, a lot of OSINT was involved in kind of tracking this down. And so in sort of like collaboration, looking at the most recent one, you read it, you scrutinize the document very, very explicitly, like how are they detecting it? What are the key points which, they'll call out, but there may be something that you can dig into as, an individual outside of Cisco. So kind of as an initial jumping off point, I was like, all right, well, for this specific class of vulnerability and the description of the vulnerability, we've got Cisco iOS, web UI, command injection. Work our way back. Where has this been hit and how has it been hit in prior years? And so in that previous chart, that's kind of like where you see us kind of like doing the jumping off point, because again, there's no public POCs for any of this stuff. In terms of differentiating which exploit is which CVE, you're not going to have much luck unless you start at one end and kind of do bisecting, and you can't bisect if you have nothing. So that kind of resulted in the jumping off point. WVU, as part of VulnCheck, has some wonderful experience, some wonderful guidance in terms of like how to approach a lot of these problems. I do not know Lua. I can read it, but WVU is definitely miles ahead of me on that one. But we had quite a lot of fun, learned a lot kind of going through that process. In part of that partnership, for usefulness for GreyNoise, we did not need to get the full POC together. We were able to identify the code path, write a very explicit rule in terms of identifying some of that CVE 2019 traffic. But yes, I believe on VulnCheck's part, do you want to talk a bit about like how y'all approached the problem and like where you ended up?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know how much people have read like what you wrote about it, but basically Remy helped us figure out, what the vulnerable code path was. And then Will Vu of, Metasploit fame, who also works at VulnCheck now, did a lot of the vulnerability research to actually find the sync for the authenticated RCE. So one thing that VulnCheck is interested in is creating weaponized exploits for our customers. So we sat down and started, writing our own exploit using, we say it's CVE 2019 12650. It's one of the many in the chart. We aren't exactly sure which one it is because things are very muddy still. But either way, so we wrote a couple of weaponized exploits. Will was able to figure out how to do a bind shell, which was pretty cool. And I think that's what he has continued to use for his research because he gets a nice colorized prompt and everything. But we also re-implemented a Lua web shell as well. Actually, it turned out to be more difficult than we expected it to be because, dropping Lua web shells onto Nginx servers is totally normal. It's like a thing that, attackers do. You just reload Nginx and it picks up the web shell. But for us, we were able to acquire a device to test on, but it would just like lock up the web server every single time. So we ended up having to find a new path to reload the web server, which actually ended up like what we do is like if you attack the HTTP server, we like start and stop the HTTPS server, which actually creates the reload and it works just fine. So there was like some jiggly bits that were required that weren't obvious. but yeah, it's like you just drop in, you have root access on the device just through the web interface. And we actually probably would not. Remy had a great idea to figure out this code path, and it was just like a very big brain moment. And we at the time we didn't have any type of device. We couldn't patch diff it or anything, so that was great.
It was, I will say, it was pretty cool to watch. Like, this is just kind of a little bit of a humble brag, but like to watch, like we have a Slack channel set up. We were all in it. Like Emily giving and Censys giving, some external information. Jake and Remy and Will working on the actual exploit development. And if you've never watched Will do vuln research, it's pretty funny because everything is chain of consciousness in his like documentation, so it's entertaining. Like to Bob's point earlier, it could totally be a Twitch stream or something to just send him a vuln and then ask him to totally just RE it. But anyway,
he works weird hours too, so sometimes I'll go to bed and I'll wake up and it'll just be like pages of Slack messages,
150 messages that are all like 3 words.
And the only thing that really matters is like the last one where he went to bed, and it's like the rest.
Yeah, but no, it was cool. But I say all that as like an example of like, in the research, in the security community, we have this, there's a lot of vendors in the space, a lot of competition, but when things get really bad, like we do tend to pull together and work together, and like it's always a little bit, makes my soul a little less dark when we have these moments of like cross-team collaboration on these big things, which we haven't even got to, like the plot twist on the Cisco vuln.
Yeah, well. Actually, I want to, if I can ask Emily, like I'm not going to account anything, Emily. I'm curious, have there been any developments that have made tracking implants a bit more challenging?
Yeah. So, yeah, shocker, right? So, over the weekend, we've seen multiple reports of this like dramatic drop in devices from like tens of thousands to like a few thousand.
So like like nothing.
Right. Like, or like 1,500. Like that is the most optimistic patch curve I think I've ever seen. Like Log4j didn't look like that. And that was incredibly It still doesn't look like that, frankly. Like, and so people have started asking, like people were asking us, well, what do you think happened? We did it. Everyone's patched. And it's like, oh,
mission accomplished banner.
Sweet summer child. No, that's not how this works. We've seen this happen before where threat actors will like, so either they've moved to a new phase of exploitation, right? Or they have somehow obfuscated what's publicly visible to these scanners, these non-intrusive scanners, to like kind of hide what they're doing, right? And we've seen this before. Like threat actors read the news just like we do. So like, I don't know if you remember back in like, it was like February of this year, but this feels like 10 years ago. But there was like that ransomware that was going around on ESXi servers. And like the initial round of infections, the encryption was not effective. And so you could actually decrypt it. So CISA released a decryptor. They also were including like the Bitcoin addresses in their ransom notes. And then the community started talking about this. So like we and other researchers were able to track like payments and all of this other stuff related to this campaign. And then as all of this started picking up in the media, like 2 days later, we saw this new round of reinfections where all of that had changed. The encryption was better and now like tight, and they removed the ability, like they removed the Bitcoin addresses, right? So like they made it harder for researchers to track these things. So like, that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but I always have a little bit of mixed feelings about talking about these things publicly, because while I want to share IOCs and I want to share like what we're seeing, I also don't ever want that to be at the expense of us being able to track some of this activity. So there's a really fine line. And I think the hype around this probably drove the actor behind it into like, okay, we need to move on, or we need to somehow like obfuscate how this is visible from the outside. Like, I don't know which it is, but like, I strongly suspect, I would be shocked. Like I would fall over dead if there were really only like 1,000 of these still vulnerable or still like exploited. Like that's unbelievable.
We do have an update on that front.
Yep.
So Talos came out yesterday and explained exactly how you can still fingerprint the devices. Fox IT actually came out with a different method as well, and they're all still there basically.
Yeah.
So this, in my mind, it's wild that this actor had, everyone knows these implants are there and you can track them, and their choice wasn't to abandon the campaign, but instead to just like throw basic auth on the web shells and hope that keeps everyone from fixing the issue. I think it's wild.
I mean, it wasn't like right for until Sunday, until later on Sunday, like this was unpatched, right? So who cares if it wasn't permanent, like reboot the device. Okay, well, it's an O-Day. I'll just resend my payload and get back in there, and then I'll close it behind me real fast with some off, and then everyone moves on thinking that they had a victorious weekend.
Yeah, what's crazy as well is like most of these devices have this interface exposed, probably by accident, because no sane administrator is opening this up to the internet. So the likelihood of like a high patch rate for these particular internet-facing devices is so that's going to be a huge tail. They could have backed out, let things get cleaned up, and then just redid it all over again with a better implant. But I don't know. They've chosen this path, which I think is interesting.
Any conspiracy theories on
so many?
So there's a threat actor that had an O-Day and used it in the past X number of weeks and burned through 40,000, I don't know, the numbers vary greatly, of course, but tens of thousands of devices, and at that moment didn't choose to cover the track. Like they had to have known that it was easily identifiable. And then of course it kind of gets to what Emily was saying, like the hype hits, the initial blog has like how to identify it, so everyone starts scanning. You can see that scanning on our charts as well for our honeypots. And then they just go back and hide, close the door behind them versus laying low. Like I kind of wonder, like, was this already used for what they needed and then they deployed it across the internet, or was it an accidental, like did the grenade go off too soon, or like it just there's something fishy with how you have an O-Day on this device and suddenly have 30,000 access to 30,000 appliances.
I mean, Remy, if you have a conspiracy theory that is not the one I'm thinking of, because you can't say that one, please go for it.
Now I'm
interested in what I can say. But here's one that I know can be substantiated from public historical reports that we've seen.
Then it's not a conspiracy theory if it can be substantiated.
No, I can't tell the future, but we can tell from past events. So when you're talking about nation state attackers and APTs, no one likes someone to come into their property, right? Their territory. Your risk averse APTs, historically speaking, you're probably going to see them not going after Cisco, or if they were already in there, they probably pieced out because they don't want to be discovered. So in a way, this threat actor who has now rotated their implant has probably spooked off anyone else who was already in there. So while we're still going through it with Cisco, I really hope that the brief period of peace following this is used to really do some really thorough cleanup, because take the silver lining where you can get it.
I'm going to get us off this topic and after just asking one more question, which I'm trying not to rabbit hole this question because it's a rabbit hole. Do you get enough access on the device if you use the exploit to patch the device?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, why not? Yeah, you have full root access. You have the full command line.
So I'm
it was level 15 access, right? So
yeah. So like I guess my thing would be, like we've had anonymous do-gooders in the past do a service to the internet. Maybe someone who's really good at not getting caught might want to do this too. Like it just seems.
Well,
like
the problem though
enough.
is, like if they create user accounts, whatever, that's going to stay. So
the other problem is it's not easy to get the patch firmware in the first place because you have to have contact with Cisco, and
all right.
they say they'll give it away for free, but you have to like get in contact with them. So
and have a serial, which would be unique per device. So I'd be extremely surprised if we see a vigilante person going around patching these.
All right. Yeah. Wait, one can hope, because it's not cool having like 30,000 machines just under the constant control of attackers beyond already what was out there under constant control.
Now, maybe not the patch, but they might be able to mitigate it by turning off the web UI interface. Yeah.
Yeah, but as Jake said, I mean, if the do-gooder, yeah, okay. I mean, anyways, people think about it. Just gives me the internet to be safer. I'm cruising through this next one. What I have up on the screen is a blog from Cato Security. Really cool thing. And this just because I'm in the data science field, I feel a little bit. Well, I mean, I hate Jupyter notebooks, but whatever. I do feel I don't like it.
You hate Jupyter notebooks? Do we need to no, that's a whole sidebar. We'll come back to that at some point. No.
With a violent passion.
Okay.
I despise Jupyter notebooks.
Okay. Oh man, you also hate Python though. So like all right. Okay.
Yeah, but like.
Oh wait, I'm gonna go for the trifecta. Emily, what are your thoughts on R?
So I don't hate it. R has wonderful visualization technology, like fantastic, way better than Python. But like,
I thought Bob's heart would explode. Well, Bob's heart would have exploded if you would have said.
No, I love R. I just don't use it as much because like, no one else around here. Bob, I think you're the only other person I know who uses R regularly.
So we have triggered some nerves. Someone wishes to unsubscribe now. Wow, yeah, we might have to do a separate like quick podcast or whatever we call Stormwatch episode on just that. Like maybe a data science focused one. So
a nerd off,
a peek behind the scenes of data science and cyber, and I can explain to you why I despise both Python and Jupyter notebooks. Cool.
Well, fair enough.
So anyway, I don't like it when my fellow data science peers get pwned, even if they are dumb enough to put Jupyter notebooks on the internet without authentication, or really bad authentication. So this was they caught an attacker dropping qubit strike on Jupyter notebooks, and it is unusual seeing this to be a target of attack, but I don't think it's going to be like we've seen attackers go after Hadoop infrastructure and things like that before. These days, a lot of Jupyter notebooks are tied to some fairly beefy backends with GPUs and things like that. So I think we might start to see this happen some more. So I got to talk to Remy and Glenn team about maybe like dropping some Jupyter notebook honeypots out there like Cato did. We're going to jump into probably the hottest take we're going to have, I think, of the entire episode. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because like all we're doing is picking on people at this point. But if people might have noticed that Okta had a breach. The support staff had a breach. Not great. And basically what it was is attackers were able to use the support staff access to get access to like all of the support stuff that people send to them. And like one of the things that people send to them are these HAR files. And I know like we have a lot of technical folks that listen to us, and if you don't know what HAR files are, really brief explanation here. I got some visuals here. They'll be in the PDF associated with this thing. If you open up developer tools in your browser and you like let that run while you're browsing around, you can save all your network activity to a HAR file. It is just a JSON file with literally everything you've done, like all of the web interactions that you've done. Remy has some very recent experience dealing with many HAR files, which we will probably talk about at some future episode. And these look like this. So again, I have a screen up. I deliberately did not use a local tool for this one because you could just go to Google's HAR analyzer, just use whatever search engine you use, like search for Google's HAR analyzer, and you can bring up any HAR file into there. And basically, it has things like this. And like this is something I went to our visualizer page in a unauthenticated session in a incognito window. So there's nothing that I'm exposing here. But like you get to see things like what's on the screen here, which is something called a baggage header for the Sentry stuff that we use. It's third-party thing we use for stuff. Just kind of showing that you get to see like these things that are sent in headers that people don't normally see. And some of those things that you see in headers are like authentication-y things, and secret key things and all sorts of stuff like that. And that's kind of what got busted with this particular. Did anyone else do any reading on this besides me? Like, did I miss any of the cool things about this?
What I'm a bit confused about is like when you jump to a new source IP with a session token. I know a lot of platforms invalidate that, so I'm a bit confused how that actually worked. I'll leave that conversation to like if anyone else wants to chime in because I'm a bit confused here.
Yeah, so I'm so what I will so if folks haven't read the Okta thing, basically what it was like what attackers were able to steal session tokens, and apparently the whatever the places that they were intercepting these things from didn't have very robust web app security because as Remy said, normally they're tied to more than just the token itself. Like normally there's some things about the device or the source that you're coming from.
So there's like a few a few layers to this, like where, and I think I'm just going to be the disclosure police from now on because that's just the thing that's the thorn in my side lately. Like, so on this, like the backstory, it started with trusted. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name. Beyond Trust. Thank you. Beyond Trust reported to Okta on October 2nd, like saying, "Hey, we're seeing this weird stuff." Oh, am I getting ahead? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, it's fine. I'll go back.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah. So, like, hey, we're seeing this weird stuff. It looks like it's coming from you. Like, let's chat. And Okta's like, we're busy. And 17 days later, they were like, oh yeah, we have had a breach. We'll look into it. So first of all, like that took more than 2 weeks, almost 3 business, 17 days, whatever. So that's not cool. And in that meantime, you start seeing these other companies also either realize something similar and reached out, or once the initial blog came out from Beyond Trust, then they started looking into it and finding. So it's kind of piled on. Seems to be through a support system or whatever. So like another like big red flag is there are a lot of companies who do web app authenticated stuff. And for that, you need support. Usually in any kind of authentication issue, the first thing they ask for is a HAR file because it's a replay of the whole thing. And so this is a really good reminder to treat those HAR files like straight up, like full token, full access, full authentication, like just treat it like it is your prized possession. And when customers are sending that to you, if it's through a portal or something, then that portal needs to be, top tier, whatever your security layers or classifications are. Like it needs to be at the very, very top.
Yeah, and
the other thing
here, just for you, like, yeah, and just with that, if you don't need those kinds of tokens, like if the HAR file is for a different reason, so Google, like a long time ago, like 6 years is like a billion years now, thanks to the way that the fresh hell that run every day, and like they've got a HAR sanitizer. So like just go to the link is up there. We'll throw it and it's in the show notes, whatever. Like if you don't need that for the HARs that you're receiving or for a particular thing you're not, tell people to do this first. Cause like it isn't hard. It's really, really simple to go do this. So anyway, I'm sorry, Glenn, keep going.
You really can't expect users to do that though. You need to implement that on the server side.
I agree.
Right. That's a lot. That's what I'm saying. Like that should be the default built into the export.
Also,
there's a checkbox of I want to include this extra information that may, be a foot gun.
Yeah. I agree. That needs to be handled on the on the receiving end. I agree.
Also, I love that Bob's telling people to use a Google product to sanitize.
I also, I was interested that you use their online like toolbox. That's an interesting choice. Obviously, like it wasn't a big deal in this case because you weren't like using anything in particular. Like there was.
I would totally not use it for anything real in this. I just want to give people a quick thing to go show because having to go through HARTool is like I have preferences, just like I hate Jupyter, and like I don't want to put my preferences on people for that one. So.
The last thing I'm going to say real fast about this is, with my disclosure please hat on, is
disclosure narc.
Yeah. They also said like, hey, customers who are impacted by this, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
I don't know how many customers Okta has, but I've been on that side, and what happens is every customer of that company is going to reach out and say, I need you to tell me if I was or was not affected, because they need that documentation. They can't just assume that since I didn't get an email, because that never goes awry, that I'm not affected. And so that just creates an absolutely terrible experience for your customers, for your frontline staff, for anyone involved in that process, really. So like, just own your disclosure, and just like, you're not hiding this by just telling people that were affected by it. Like,
that's true.
Yeah, that makes it even worse. So like, to me, the thing about this is like, okay, yes, they got hacked, which I mean, like, yeah, this has happened before. Again, this has happened before. Like, not a great look. But like, over a long enough time horizon, that's going to happen to everyone. Like, everybody's that's going to happen. Okay. The thing here is just how they handled it, or I guess didn't handle it. It's not even so much again, right? Yeah. Like, and the fact that the thing that really like surprised me about this is like a customer who is also arguably like in the security vendor space was the one who initially said, hey, we think something is weird here. We've gone through our IR process and we're pretty sure this is on your end. Yeah. And there was no way to escalate. Like, that's the thing that I just don't.
It's not even like it was a bug bounty or like some like a single individual. It was a trusted company saying, we've done our thing. This looks bad.
Yeah. It's and again, like I try like as a policy to not like bash companies going through like a breach or something, because like you never know what's going on the inside. Like, you never know. And there are plenty of like good people on the ground doing
apparently nothing was going on at the inside.
Well, but that's the thing. So like I definitely think there are probably some like detection folks or security folks who were like, once they found out about it, probably like alarmed,
updated the resumes.
Also that, right. But like, yeah, I'm really bothered by the fact that like, that's not confidence inspiring at all. Like,
I wonder how this affects like GDPR, like, was it 72-hour reporting or something? Like, when does that clock start in this situation? Is it the October 2nd date, or is it the October 19th date? Like,
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, GDPR is just a fine machine anyway. So anyway, that's another hot take.
Well, I mean, it's all we got.
I do want to say one more thing about like HAR files. If you have any sort of like data loss prevention, HAR files are probably a good one to put in there. So when we're talking about like HAR files being able to use, we're assuming that a session token was embedded in this HAR file and it was hijacked and reused to get an authenticated session. Doing so is not some underground hacking tool that parses these HAR files. In the exact same, right-click drop-down in a Chrome web browser where it says save all as HAR, that exact same dialog in every Chrome and Firefox browser, there is an import HAR file. And in order to initialize that session, anyone in the world with a web browser can right-click and say resend request. That's it. There's no super secret tool here. Anyone already has the software if they're on the internet. So if this is a concern, scrutinize HAR files. That should be in your data loss prevention, like filters for email, etc. Until there are safeguards in place, that's probably not a bad idea.
So I have one serious thing, and then I have a couple more hot takes to do in this one. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm beating up on Okta. I don't care. One is I feel really, so if there are any folks that are in the like that have to answer the third party compliance things, and like you have to answer all the responses, like I apologize for all the letters. I apologize on behalf of Okta for all the letters you're about to get, basically from every company saying, did you use Okta? Were you informed? Because like that's going to be a thing, and that's one of the downfall side effects of this. It was for the first Okta breach, and it's just an insane thing that they actually have to go do. One thing I do love is like, I mean, Cloudflare, I mean, it's just beautiful. How Cloudflare mitigated yet another Okta compromise is the blog title.
It was scathing.
I don't normally have nice things to say about Cloudflare, but I got to tell you, props to their marketing team for that one, because that I felt that it was just warm and fuzzy for that one. But listen, I've actually come up with a way to solve this. I have a way to solve this. I know what to do. And given that it's October, the basic way I think we can solve this is so that October. I have neat. I forgot to say, I forgot one hot take. Is Beyond Trust beyond trusting Okta now? Anyway, so the awareness is big, right? Maybe there's just not a level of heightened awareness that Okta is a central component in people's things, that people need to know there have been incidents before Okta, and they need to basically just have that awareness that, just like, hey, we can do better. We need to band together to do this. So I've actually started hold on, before we do that, I'm going to go back to that one. I'll do my thing first. So I've actually started a GoFundMe to save Okta from itself. And I found on there's got to be a break room in Okta, right?
So is this John Oliver?
So it's a GoFundMe.com save Okta from itself. I found this really cool Days Without an Incident digital LED sign on Amazon, $129. I haven't put any money in yet, but I'm trying to give. So just go there, and if we can get this, I'll send it to Okta. They put it in the break room. If they have more than one, I'll do another GoFundMe for another one. Maybe if there's awareness that they've had incidents in the past, this might actually help them.
Okay, so I have a question about this. Did we intentionally spell Okta with a C instead of a K to avoid copy stray?
It was actually a K. Sorry about that. Good eye though. And a better joke than I just made was from that Glenn found. I saying nice things about Glenn. That Glenn found on the internet. Well, wait, because that's what Glenn does. He surfs the internet. Was from Matthew Garrett. Please check your kids' Halloween candy. Just found an Okta admin access.
This killed me.
Bar.
I'm sorry.
This is great. Yeah, I dropped dead on this one. This is great. So props to Matthew for that one. All right, moving on. I am not going to talk about the two things I was going to talk about. We'll talk about them next time because we're already going late. I am going to point out that I find I don't do anything at MGM Resorts, but Maine finally got their breach notification letter from the MGM reports thing. It just hit the news over the weekend for me. So 40,000 Maine residents may have had IDs stolen in a massive hack in the Seacoast current. So it finally hit my little part of the Shire.
Is this the first time that Seacoast current has been mentioned on Stormwatch?
It is the first time. I didn't. Right. Honestly, until this popped up in my RSS feeds, I didn't know there was a Seacoast current. So that's.
I know it's been a week because I read that headline. I was like, they got their intrusion detection system stolen. That's awful.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I have been down the rabbit hole way too long.
It's all caps though.
Yeah, it is.
That's a little misleading. It's confusing.
I was like, that's a bad day for 40,000 people.
It is bad. I'm also just going to drop the link for this one. Fellow team member Matt Lehman is in the process of writing a new CLI tool that we are hoping to get open source really soon, at least by the end of the year. It's called Precursor, and the blog post is up here, and it's actually a pretty amazing tool for doing generic payload similarity analysis. So read the blog and anticipate having a new open source tool at your fingertips. Drop us a note after the blog too. We got links to how to do that. Could be curious as to your thoughts on this particular thing. So we have tags. Glenn, we had a lot of tags. Glenn and Remy, a lot of tags, like 11 tags. How'd that happen?
Well, I think we just covered. I misread IDs as IDS. So yeah, it's been a week. A lot of fun stuff. I think I had more actually. I know a few of these are jumping out as these are the emerging threats, but the truth is the majority of these I think came from SIFT. Is that correct, Glenn?
Yeah. Every week we're going through SIFT. I know we talked about it a lot on here, and we're super excited about it. Obviously, it's paying off for us internally. So I can't recall offhand, but I'm going to say at least half. I think 3/4 came from SIFT, which is great, and then the rest are the emerging threats from the last 2 weeks. Because
not the rest are not that actually.
They're not what?
They're not just the emerging threats from the past week.
Oh yeah,
the rest are not just that. They so I as I was standing up the server for the domain name that Glenn complained about. For the Stormwatch, I decided to do a fun thing that I do every so often when I do that, which is when I
oh, that's right.
When I use Caddy for this one. So when I ask Caddy, when I fired it up, Caddy does all the magic TLS SSL certain stuff with Let's Encrypt, which I'll talk for another day. And I decided to watch the logs go for this one because I wanted to see which scanners are watching the certificate transparency logs. And I'm if you can't tell me, Emily, it's okay. Do you folks monitor certificate transparency to do any kind of scanning?
We do, but I won't say more than that. But yeah, we
That's
do.
fine. That's fine. That's cool. I just because like I mean I sort of saw you. That's one reason why I asked you to. But you aren't the ones that we did this for. We found another one who I'm not going to name. That actually there were some paths we did not have, scanner tag paths we did not have, that I was able to send to Howdy again on the team. Howdy's like a machine with tags. Howdy, you're amazing. I know you listen. And they managed to crank those out as well too. So we actually have coverage for those. And I'm going to be doing some more tests like that to see if we're missing any particular paths from stuff that's actually out there. So yeah, just be it known that when you decide to like throw a domain on something, like people watch DNS and they figure out they brute force. And when you actually add a cert to something, you've got people watching the certificate transparency logs to see what's out there and see that you're there and maybe go poke at you from a scanner perspective. So just be aware of that.
Actually, maybe don't be aware of that. Hello, all threat actors. This is an announcement to you. No one watches any of that. We're not interested in that at all. We don't care. Please.
This is not what you're looking for.
Resume your normal business. Don't worry about that. Put a cert on everything. Do it. It's good for you.
I'm pretty sure they're smarter than we are at this point, but that's okay. Cool. So it has been one day, not zero, Glenn, not one day since the last.
I can't read a calendar.
Yeah, I'm bad at calendar stuff too. We've already covered what those two are, though, so we don't need to really talk about them anymore. Unless can someone check real quick, please, if Cis has done it to us again?
We're good. I just checked.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate not screwing us over.
I want to call out that it's been one day since they removed something from Kev too.
Yeah. Please, okay. Go. You
it's been one day since the next release, and it's been one day since the last revocation.
Which now means they removed something twice? The Blue Owl or the Owl Hoots or
whatever.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about that one.
The spying owl they took away, and
the spying owl. So the other one was the CB 2021. Read way too many numbers this week. It was the
1035. I might be making that up.
The iOS XE command injection that matched their signature. That was their suspicion. They knew that it detected the activity, but it was actually a new CB, which we hinted at on that original chart. So all these like Cisco iOS command injections, they're triggered in various different ways, but ultimately underneath all of it, they are all the same component that's just been hammered on again and again and again over these years. So yeah, the suspicion validated now that there was a CB 2023 O-Day involved. And that was the revocation of that Cisco iOS 2021 vuln and has now been replaced with the CB 2023. I think there's a 7.3 in there. I don't have all these memorized. Replay this and look back 10 minutes.
I also keep a history. I'll post a link somewhere for this, where you can just like look at my repos. I archive Kev every day in one of my GitHub repos. It's a GitHub action, so you could actually just go there, and if you want to just look at the diffs from there, you can do that too. For anyone who wants to go do that. So good show. Jake, thank you so much for coming on this. A really last minute. I quoted the episode. This is the internet. You don't have to be informed to talk. This is true. And true. Apropos coming from Glenn too. So I am going to close it out with asking two things. So any closing remarks for listeners or watchers, and or favorite Halloween candy that people should be giving people, because they won't have enough time to buy them if we do this next week. So I want them to have time to go out and buy the Halloween candy they should be giving out. So I'm going to start with Jake.
All right. I'm just going to plug a thing. I'm going to be at Sector in Toronto the next 2 days. I'll be pitching VulnCheck's exploit framework. So come over to Arsenal and chat with me about whatever. It would be good to see people. The only candy people should be giving out is Fifth Avenue bars.
Oh, interesting.
Nice. Remy, same.
Things that people should be aware of. Really, really useful tool. OFRAK, spelled O-F-R-A-K, by Red Balloon Security. Really interesting tool I came across this week. They have a community edition. If you do firmware analysis, one, it has a fantastic web GUI, and two, everything you do in that web GUI, it automatically generates a Python script to reproduce it. So patch diffing becomes very, very viable. Check it out. It's super cool. And then as
Do you
far
have a
as
referral code for that, Remy, or is this a sponsor?
no, I caught wind of it when doing some OSN this week.
Use coupon code Remy.
I don't think I'm going to be using any other tools going forward. It is fantastic. Nice. Yeah, definitely a really cool product. Check it out. Best candy, Fast Break. Eat them for breakfast every day, not just Halloween.
I'm not surprised you probably do that too. Remy, as I hit everybody else, please drop that URL into the comment for everyone so they can see that. Emily, same.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's top of mind for me, right? Well, it's spooky season, first of all, but second of all, like the way some of these incident response practices caught the Okta thing that Okta didn't catch. I just want to now is a great time to do some tabletop exercises. Like, think about incident response. Think about, do you have a plan for these things? Because they will happen to you. What are you going to do when they happen? It's a fun Friday afternoon activity. Just get your team together and go through some spooky scenarios of what could happen, what could go wrong, and how you deal with it. Man, I'm not really a candy person. But as far as Halloween candy goes, this is going to be controversial, but I actually really love dots. I know everyone's no, they're trash. I love them.
No, I mean, if you would say candy corn, there would have been a permanent.
I actually like candy corn. I know that's also controversial. I don't know. I like candy corn. I'm sorry, everyone.
Oh, wow.
It's not that bad.
It's okay, in small doses. I'm not gonna make a meal.
Well, so is Glenn,
it.
though, but that's not saying much.
Cool. No, I love the sentence. Candy corn in small doses. Take your medicine.
Well, there's a reason it only exists once a year.
Because that's why it tastes like it's. Anyway,
that's exactly what it tastes like to me.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Interesting.
Sorry.
For me,
no, hold on. I didn't get to you yet.
Oh.
I feel bad that Emily's.
Please don't ask me to count more things on the spot. I'm oh god.
I feel bad that Emily's gonna hate me forever now because I hate Jupyter, candy corn, and
Python, all good things.
Yeah, terrible things.
Ashley has spoken.
Candy corn equals good. Candy corn pumpkin biting into a candle. Okay,
I agree with this. The candy corn pumpkins, not my jam.
Wait. Okay, I mean, I have my kids are not young anymore, so we don't do let's go out and get candy from people, from strangers. What are these candy corn pumpkins? What are these? What is this abomination?
It's like candy corn, but a pumpkin.
Bigger?
It's like the same. It's like this. No, they're small. They're pretty small. They're bite-sized, just sugar balls, like candy corn, but in the shape of a pumpkin.
Same.
Yeah, wow. You took the formula for candy or the recipe for candy corn and put it into a pumpkin mold instead. Okay. I agree. I don't like those.
That's weird. That's just weird. Glenn, what do you have for everybody?
No, you want me to talk?
Well, not really, but I mean, it's only fair.
Excuse me. Things to be aware of. We didn't even get to it today, and I don't know if we did last week because time's weird. But solar winds, there's clouds brewing with solar winds again, and 0 Day Initiative and stuff. So let's all just
watch that. We are going to cover that next week. I felt bad enough that we were beating up on some of the other
vendors. Yeah.
We have to pace the beatings, so we'll pace that beating for next week.
Yeah. So, but if you use solar, just go Google or something. And best Snickers is my. Well, actually, I take that back. Peanut M&M is my number one. Snickers is my number two.
Cool. I will.
And sorry, for funsies, I wish we had a link to it. Maybe Ashley can look it up real fast. We did our annual GreyNoise candy bracket thing a few weeks ago, and so things get very controversial in that internal meeting. But it's on Twitter or social somewhere.
We'll show it next week, and we will show it next week.
Oh yeah, we'll show it next week. Yeah,
because it's Halloween. It's a spooky.
We should make some people come on to defend their choices. Is what we should do.
We might have to.
I lost a lot of respect for my coworkers that day. I'm not gonna lie.
That poll is unhinged every single year. I don't know.
And this was my first year to be a part of the internal part of it, and it was like I said, I lost respect. Yeah. Some of you need to look in the mirror.
Worse than candy corn?
Yeah. Next year, my proposal was next year people need to be able to demonstrate that they have these candies in their house.
Well, actually eat them, I think. Actually
Yeah,
consume
yeah,
them on
like,
camera.
let's-
Yeah.
Do you have an example
Yeah.
of one that's that egregious? 'Cause
Like
I
the
can't-
candy cigarettes.
Those are fine. I mean,
Yeah, what's wrong
they're
with
not
the
like my
candy
favorite,
cigarettes?
but they're fine.
Are they better than like Reese's Pieces or something?
No. Well,
No.
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 See?
No.
Yeah, this is okay. All right, we're gonna go down this wormhole again.
I'm sorry. No, we're not. It's okay. I just, okay. Very subjective.
I have no tech recommendations, but with my backdrop that I have, get out there if there's any still color left on the leaves, and if there isn't, get out there. Fall is, if you're in North America, fall is a beautiful time to get out, love hiking, get out in the fresh air, go touch some grass. We all need that, especially after the past couple of weeks. And candy, dark chocolate Kit Kat bars. Very good, mostly because I also can't eat normal Kit Kat bars because of milk chocolate. So, but they're very tasty. The kids love them, and they do make them small. They do make them smaller at this time of year, so you can hand them out instead of having to give like the giant bars and go broke. So, cool.
Twix is underrated too. Anyway.
Ooh, wow! Quick drop for that. I'm not even going to fight you on that one. Cool. Thank you all for coming on again today, making time for this. Thank you all for listening. Ashley, thank you for the work that you do, and we'll catch everybody on the next storm.
Bye.